following is a presentation of Main Street Media, your source for news, sports, and information on Main Street in Middle Tennessee. This is Casey's Take on Sports with your host, Casey Patrick, sports reporter for the Dickson Post and Cheatham County Exchange. Now, a man who always has a take, Casey Patrick.
Good morning. How are y'all doing? This week, we're going to go over the Super Bowl again. I know we talked about it last week, but everybody's going to talk about it. Super Bowl coming up, so just bear with me. We're going to talk about the Super Bowl because I want to. After that, we're going to talk about Brian Flores. He's suing the NFL. Just go over a few things happening right there. And then we're going to talk about the Jaguars and the Texans. They're hiring. They have hired some coaches, some assistant coaches. And of course, with them being in the Titans division, we kind of want to keep up with those guys. And then, of course, we're going to end it with some high school sports. Y'all already know the deal. But let's get on into the first take. So, basically, every channel right now in America is probably talking about the upcoming Super Bowl, and with good reason. It is the biggest sporting event, at least in the Western Hemisphere, every year. So, I mean, I'm going to talk about it. I'm excited for the game. I'm ready to see it, and I like the Super Bowl every year just because it's usually a pretty good opportunity to, you get to hang out with some friends, maybe see some people you haven't seen before, get a group of friends together, and just hopefully watch a good football game. So I'm excited for it. I really think it's basically Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase versus the Rams, right? I mean, that's how everybody kind of views this. I really do think the Rams are going to win. I think they've just got way too much power and explosiveness up front. But what I'm really excited for, what I really want to see, Joe Burrow has created this almost cult-like or shiction-type character, right? Where he's unstoppable. It's Joe Shiesty, Joe Burrow. They got all the weird nicknames for him. Everybody was rooting for him last week because nobody wanted to watch Patrick Mahomes' brother twerk at the Super Bowl. I know that was the big deal. And this week, I think you got a lot of fans that really do like the Rams. I think you got a lot of people that like me. I mean, they like Stafford, and they want to see him do well. But there's something about Joe Burrow. It's almost like a fairy tale. You know what I'm saying? It just seems like he can write his own story. And of course, he said earlier this week, they asked him what would have happened if he stayed at Ohio State. And he said if he would have stayed at the community college in Ohio, he would have ended up as a flipping burgers, I believe is what he said. That's nothing against the people flipping burgers, but I think we all kind of get and understand where he's going with that. Of course, Urban Meyer did pick Dwayne Haskins over Joe Burrow. There are a lot of different ways to look at that. But, of course, Burrow, he went to LSU, and the Ohio boy goes down there to the pretty deep South, and he gets to hang out with the crawfish and do all the stuff he wanted to do. And there's just something that's really likable about Burrow. He's extremely talented. He's a winner. I mean, the kid exudes confidence. He's the type of guy you want on your team. And I remember somebody, I think it was on Pat McAfee's show, and I can't remember who he was talking to. It may have been him talking about having Peyton Manning. And he said, when you have a guy like that you believe in, it makes everybody else better. When you go to work, when you get up and you go into the facility that morning, you feel like, all right, we're going to have a good day. And it's partially because of who you got, that dude at quarterback, the most important position in sports. And Joe Burrow is that type of guy that I think he helps everybody around him because he is just nothing but confidence and talent, and he's the whole package as far as I'm concerned when it comes to a quarterback. I'd love to have him at quarterback on my team, but I want to see how this story unfolds. I don't have a dog in the fight. I couldn't care less. You got the Rams that they went out and built this super team. They're showing everybody that you don't have to do it the old school way. You can go out and just get talent. You can win as long as your coaching is good. And I like how they're doing it. They're showing everybody that, you can kind of change the status quo, and I like that. But, you got the Rams. They got Matthew Stafford, and they've got all their own little storylines. And, of course, the Bengals, and I just got done talking about Joe Burrow and, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, the rest of that offense. I think CJ Uzomah he's still injured, right? I know he tore off his leg cast or whatever it was, the thing around his knee, and threw it off in front of the crowd. But I think he's still out. But I want to see how this ends. You know what I'm saying? And if it was up to me, man, I'm down for a shootout. I don't mind watching. I don't mind watching a 52-45 game. That don't bother me at all. I don't have a team, like I said, so I'm just ready to watch it, see what happens. I do think the Rams win, but I'm ready to see how Joe Burrow writes this next chapter in the story. And no matter what happens next for Joe Burrow, his story is not over with. I mean, this is his second year in the league for this dude. He's got a lot of time. And let's hope to God that Cincinnati drafts an offensive lineman, or maybe like 6 of them, and hopefully they can work around him a little bit and help him, so they can be a better team. But this kid is fun to watch. He's really fun to watch, and I'm excited to see what the next step is. And that's all I got to say about the Super Bowl. I think the Rams are winning, but we're gonna go ahead to the second take. Bye now. My second take is one that's a little bit more serious. Of course, most of you by now have heard that Brian Flores has sued the NFL for racial inequality among head coaches, and it just mathematically it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I think the NFL is majority at least African American, and there's only before Lovie Smith was hired, I think there was only one black head coach, right? So mathematically, it doesn't make sense, right? They're just, if you look at the people that are in the NFL and you look at the numbers wise, I think it's like 67% at least, maybe it's 71% are African American players anyway. So you would think the coaches, they would be somewhere closer at least to 50-50, and they're not. They're not even close. It's not the same for general managers either. It's general managers and coaches of the NFL are two positions that are predominantly majorly just white, and it just really doesn't make a lot of sense. If you're really hiring people with the best pedigree and the guys that are probably the most prepared for the job, it's not always going to be some 34-year-old white dude. And I know that people don't want to turn it into a color thing, but the people that say they don't want to turn it into a color thing are the people that are white. I think that the people that bring up this issue and the people that are willing to complain and really put their opinion out there, I think they're seeing it for what it really is. And Brian Flores, I think there's a big part of me that really respects what he's doing, because he said the other day that he was willing to destroy, I think is what he said, destroy his coaching career. And that's more or less what he did. Now, the Texans didn't hire him. The Texans hired Lovie Smith. And then Brian Flores, and this is one thing that I really do not understand or agree with from Brian Flores' perspective. But after Lovie Smith was hired, Brian Flores said he's happy that the Texans decided to hire a black head coach. But after a successful meeting, and he thought he was going to be hired by the Texans, and he didn't get hired. And now he's mad that he didn't get hired. And he said that it's because he brought this up to the NFL. He's suing the NFL. He brought all these issues up, and now he's saying that's why he didn't get that job. I take issue with that because now, the Texans went out and they got Lovie Smith, who has previous head coaching experience. And so is Brian Flores, but they went out, they got Lovie Smith. The fact that Brian Flores brought all this up, I don't know if it did or didn't affect his ability to get hired. But when your whole stance is, hey, more people of minority should have the opportunity, more opportunities in the NFL, and then one of them gets somebody gets an opportunity in the NFL, you can't then get mad about it too. And I take issue with Flores saying that he was willing to destroy his coaching career and then complaining because he didn't get a job. You can't be willing to destroy your coaching career and then mad that you don't get a job. It's okay to be one or the other. And I support the fact that he was willing to go out there and he stood his ground, and I don't blame him. The Dolphins absolutely fired him without cause, as far as I'm concerned. That's ridiculous. The Dolphins, that's a crap organization. They should be ashamed of themselves. Brian Flores, I think, is a really good head coach. I think he's a pretty smart guy as far as a defensive guy. They probably could have used some help on the offensive side. Go out and get somebody that could come in and help Tua Tagovailoa and the rest of the offense. That's the reason why they weren't succeeding. And then, of course, Brian Flores brought up the fact that he was paid to lose. And that's a whole nother thing. And, Jimmy Haslam and Hugh Jackson get into it. And Hugh Jackson and Kenny Britt were into it on Twitter. And that's a whole different issue. And we may talk about that one day. But Brian Flores, I respect him. I think he's definitely doing what some people don't have the guts to do. And that's standing up for what he believes in. But my issue is, if you're going to stand up for it and that's what you believe in, then you should cherish and you should be happy when what you're fighting for, at least partly, you get part of it, right? Lovie Smith is African-American and he got a job, and now you're complaining about that because you wanted that job. I don't think I'm really okay with that. But other tthan that, I hope Brian Flores he gets a lot of people fired because Roger Dale needs to go. It wouldn't bother me if he just go ahead and hit him at the top of the totem pole. Let's go on down. Let's fix the whole thing. It's just like baseball or politics. Like everybody in charge has no idea what they're doing, or they know exactly what they're doing and they're just doing it their way, and it's an awful way of doing it. So hey, maybe we can fix. I said this earlier, but fix the status quo, change everything up. But we were just talking about Lovie Smith. That's going to be a third take. Let's get into that one right now. Okay, now, as far as the Texans, they hired Lovie Smith, who was like 18-32 at Illinois. I don't really think that's a good coaching hire. I know I just got done talking about one aspect of it, and that's fine. We could talk about that. These are two different subjects to me. And this second subject is just how good of a coach he is. And if you go 18-32, or that may not even be as bad as it really was at Illinois, I don't know if the NFL is probably the best. And don't get me wrong. Hey, I remember when Lovie was at Chicago. I almost said Detroit like an idiot. They're in the same division, not the same team. He was at Chicago. That was a pretty good team. And he, he had, I'm pretty sure he had a winning record, and I think they went to the playoffs a few times. I don't know exactly what his record is. I'm not an encyclopedia, but other than that, I mean, after that, he went to another NFL team. I remember reading it, but it's too early in the morning for my brain to function. And then of course he went to Illinois, and he didn't really succeed at either spot. They went out and got Martin Winkledale, or whatever his name is, Martindale, whatever. The guy from Baltimore. They went out and hired him. The Texans, I'm not too worried about. They've still got a lot of issues. They got to figure out what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson. I don't know what's going on with Deshaun Watson, and anybody that tells you they do, they probably don't. But the Texans, I think, now if Lovie Smith can come in there and do what I don't expect him to do and get everything turned around, then good for them. But I just, he ain't done it at Illinois, and I just don't. I don't see how that translates to more success in the NFL. But the Jaguars. Now, the Jaguars, man, Trent Baalke is the GM. I don't know if he's the guy going out and hiring these coaches, but I know a lot of people don't like him. But some of these coaches they've got some dudes. They just went out and got Mike McCoy yesterday just to be a quarterback coach. Another guy's going to come in, help Trevor Lawrence. And, of course, with Doug Peterson, bringing in Doug Peterson, who I think is a really good coach, Super Bowl winning he won a Super Bowl like less than, 5, 6 years ago? They went out and got Doug Peterson. Of course, they got McCoy yesterday. They've got some coaches in Jacksonville. Now, they don't have a lot of talent. I know that ETN was hurt last year. James Robinson was hurt on and off. Of course, Trevor Lawrence is still there. They've got Miles Jack on the defense. There are definitely some talented players on that team, but it's not a full roster. And if they can go on to build a full roster, I think the Jaguars got some good coaches. And I think Peterson is a good coach. You can't be an idiot and win a Super Bowl. Now, he may have made some bad decisions afterwards, and he may continue to make a few bad decisions. But it's somewhere up and down the line, somebody's got to give Doug Peterson some respect, because not everybody gets to win a Super Bowl. And he did it with a backup quarterback. And maybe it was more because of the backup quarterback. But either way, Doug Peterson, he's got a Super Bowl ring. So I don't like what the Jaguars are doing, because I feel like it's good. Of course, I'm a Titans fan. So I don't know. I think the Jaguars are going to at least – I know last year, because of Urban Meyer, and I don't even think they were really giving themselves a chance. Now I believe they're giving themselves a chance. And plus, you've got the opportunity. Before too long, free agency rolls around, the draft rolls around. You go out and get a few pieces here and there. Who knows? Jaguars might mess around and beat somebody. The funny thing is, Colts got Frank Reich still, and of course Frank Reich and Doug Peterson, they're old buddies. So it just, everybody knows everybody, I guess. Just looking at it quickly, and I try to have an unbiased opinion. I think the Jaguars have really good coaches. I think the Texans do not. We're going to see what happens next year. I feel, if you're a Houston fan, I don't feel bad for you. The Astros cheated, but watching the Rockets kind of fall apart, the Astros, of course, they cheated and then lost in the World Series last year. By the way, if you forgot, the Astros lost in the World Series last year. And then the Texans right now are in shambles. It was just a few years ago, Deshaun Watson did that little pirouette and broke 2 tackles and threw for that first down. They go down, and I think it was the Bills they beat right then. They beat the Bills in the playoffs, and that was just a few years ago. And now they're talking about their draft pick, who they're going to draft, and they're talking about what all they can do. So I kind of feel bad. But we're going to move on to high school sports for the fourth take coming up now. All right. We're towards the end of high school basketball season. Of course, we've got the playoffs coming up, and I'm excited for it. I love high school basketball season. It's fun to watch. You'll have to excuse me. I keep hearing something in my ear. But let's see. Dickson. I think Dickson had like 4 games scheduled this week, and they wound up. I think one of them got canceled. I think they play Henry County Friday. So I'm going to go to the Dickson Henry County game Friday. Let's see. Creek. They've got some other games too. They play, I think, like 2 or 3 of the Clarksville teams, and I don't know which ones. It's hard to keep up with. But then Creekwood's traveling to White House Tuesday, and then I think, let's see, they may be at home later in the week. Monday night. Harpeth versus Cheatham, which was supposed to be last Friday's game, but that is going to be a fun matchup. And I don't know, Cheatham's girls, that they're pretty strong, and Harpeth, their girls they've had a rough season this year, but they're continuing to get better. That game's Monday night. Those boys games though, those games are wild every time those two teams meet. And then Sycamore, I think their senior night will be Tuesday night. Sycamore senior night will be Tuesday night. And Bill Clark, the photographer that helps me out in Cheatham, he will be there. Let's see. Oh, we've got, of course, baseball and softball coming up. Early March, I think, is what I'm thinking for the first game. Maybe like the week of March 5th, maybe, for baseball and softball. So that's like a month away. Baseball's right around the corner. And softball. Wrestling, that was the other one. I knew I was forgetting something. I sit here and my brain, it's like it's doing this, but nothing's really happening. Okay, so we've got some wrestling. Of course, the duels were last week. This week, I talked to Coach Luke Miller at Cheatham County Central the other day, and he said that this weekend will be the individual regional tournament, I believe, and then next week will be the individual sectional tournament. And for Cheatham, this may not be the case for all the teams in that area, but I'm pretty sure it is for Harpeth at least. Their regional match will be, I want to say, at Harpeth this weekend. And then the sectional match this is for individual wrestling. The sectional match will be the following week at Creekwood. So, it's getting that time of year. I can't wait to see this. I hope I've got a few teams that make it to the state tournament. I love going to MTSU for the basketball tournament. That is so much fun. I'm excited to see what happens. Got a lot of sports that are towards their end right now. We've got soccer coming up as well with baseball and softball. I'm missing at least 3 or 4 sports, and I know it. This is just a really fun time of the year. So, hey, listen, it don't matter what you're into. If you're a sports fan, there's a sport that is either being played or about to start being played that you like. Check out the Dickson Post and Cheatham County Exchange. We're going to have some baseball and softball previews, season previews. Probably going to do that a little bit with some soccer too. I don't know. A little bit of a shorter show this week. That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. Short and sweet. Maybe not so sweet. More salty than anything, right? Well, thank y'all for listening to Casey's Take. We'll be back next week. Next week, we're going to talk about the winner of the Super Bowl. We're going to talk some more about the Super Bowl. But thanks for checking it out. Y'all have a wonderful evening.
This has been Casey's Take on Sports. Casey covers high school sports in Cheatham and Dickson County Follow him on Twitter at CBP51 and online at MainStreetPreps.com. Casey's Take on Sports is a production of Main Street Media.